I used to believe that family was the safest place in the world, that no matter what life took from me, my sister Anna would always be the one thing life could never touch. We grew up sharing secrets under the same blanket, whispering dreams about love, marriage, and forever. But forever doesn't always mean safety. When I married Daniel, she was my maid of honor. She stood beside me, tears in her eyes, promising she'd always protect our happiness. I believed her. I believed both of them. Now, every night when I close my eyes, I see their faces, the ones I loved most, tangled in a truth I never asked to see, the kind of truth that burns everything good inside you. I don't even remember the exact moment I stopped breathing that day. Maybe it was when I saw her bracelet on my husband's nightstand. Maybe it was when he called out her name in his sleep. Or maybe it was when I realized that love can't be trusted, not even when it shares your blood. People say betrayal feels like fire. But for me, it was silence. Cold, heavy silence that slowly killed me from the inside out. And still, part of me wants to understand why. Before everything shattered, life was soft, like sunlight through old curtains. I still remember the mornings when Daniel would hum in the kitchen, pretending to know how to make pancakes, while Anna and I laughed at his hopelessness. It was ordinary, but it felt sacred. Back then, I thought happiness was something you could build with patience, brick by brick, moment by moment. I didn't know that even the strongest walls could hide cracks invisible to love. Anna had always been the free one, bold, funny, magnetic. People loved her instantly, and I loved her even more for it. She made every room feel alive, even when I was too tired to smile. She was my mirror and my safety net, all in one. When Daniel met her for the first time, he said, "Now I understand where you get your light from." I laughed. I thought it was sweet. I didn't realize then how that light would one day blind me. There's a picture on our living room wall. The three of us at the lake, smiling, the water glowing behind us. I used to see it as proof of love. Now it feels like a warning I ignored. Sometimes I wish I could go back to that moment, before the silence, before the lies, just to tell that woman in the photo to look closer, to notice how her sister's eyes lingered too long, how her husband's smile wasn't meant for her. But the past doesn't listen. It only haunts. It happened on a Sunday. The kind of Sunday that used to smell like coffee and cinnamon. The kind of day when Daniel stayed home and Anna dropped by just to check in. I was folding laundry when I heard laughter from the kitchen. That deep, familiar sound of Daniel's voice, followed by Anna's soft giggle. It should have been innocent. But that day, something about it felt wrong. Too intimate, too quiet afterward. When I walked in, they both froze. Daniel smiled, too quickly. Anna reached for her mug like she needed a reason to exist in that moment. My heart knew something my mind refused to accept. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how Daniel's phone was always face down now, how Anna started wearing perfume I'd once gifted him. My instincts whispered truths I didn't want to hear. And then came the moment that ended everything. A week later, Anna left her phone at our house after dinner. It buzzed in the silence. I shouldn't have looked, but my trembling hands betrayed me. One message lit the screen. "A bruchra. I can't stop thinking about last night." D. My breath caught in my throat. I stared at it for so long that I stopped blinking. The room spun. The floor beneath me disappeared. Every laugh, every shared moment between them suddenly made cruel sense. My sister, my husband, the two people I loved most in the world had made a world of their own, without me. I wanted to scream, to break everything in sight. But instead, I sat there, still and silent, as if movement would make the truth more real. That was the night I learned that betrayal doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers your name in someone else's bed. The days that followed were a blur. Not loud, not violent, just unbearably quiet. Daniel still kissed my forehead before leaving for work, and Anna still called sometimes, pretending nothing had changed. But everything had. I had. I walked through the house like a ghost, memorizing every lie hidden in the walls. The scent of his cologne on the sheets made me nauseous. The framed photo on the hallway table, the one of the three of us at the lake, stared back like an accusation. I wanted to confront them, to demand the truth, but every time I rehearsed the words, they turned into tears. I was afraid of hearing it out loud, afraid that once spoken it would never stop echoing. Instead, I played along. I smiled when he smiled. I laughed when Anna visited. I let them believe I was blind, while every heartbeat whispered that I wasn't. Silence became my only armor, my way of surviving in a world that had betrayed me. At night, I'd sit by the window, watching the rain slide down the glass, wishing it could wash away the images from my mind. I used to think pain was loud, screaming, breaking, begging. But it's not. Real pain is quiet. It sits beside you, breathes with you, waits for you to shatter on your own. And somewhere in that silence, something inside me began to die. But another part, a colder one, began to wake. 3 months passed. I thought I was healing, or at least pretending well enough to fool myself. Anna had moved to another city for work, and Daniel and I existed like strangers sharing a roof built from silence. Then one evening the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, there she was, Anna, standing in the rain, her eyes red, her hands trembling as she clutched a small suitcase. Time froze. The sound of raindrops hitting the ground was the only thing keeping me anchored. I had nowhere else to go, she whispered, her voice cracked, fragile. Please, don't shut the door. Every instinct screamed for me to turn her away, to let the storm outside swallow her whole. But something inside me, habit, love, or maybe weakness, stepped aside. I let her in. The air grew heavier with every breath. She looked thinner, broken even. For a moment, I saw the little girl who once cried when I scraped my knees, not the woman who stole my husband. Daniel came home later that night. When he saw her, his face went pale, his words stumbled. I watched him fumble for an excuse, something between guilt and relief. They didn't touch, but the silence between them said everything. That night, the house didn't sleep. Neither did I. As I lay awake, listening to their whispers through the thin walls, I realized something. Forgiveness isn't about mercy. It's about power. And for the first time, I wasn't powerless anymore. The next morning, the sun rose weakly, as if afraid to touch what was left of us. Anna sat at the kitchen table, her hair still damp, her eyes swollen from crying. Daniel avoided her gaze, pretending to read the newspaper he wasn't really seeing. I poured coffee for all three of us. The silence was unbearable. Thick, suffocating, alive. Finally, I spoke. How long? A brew. The sound of my voice startled them both. Daniel froze, his fingers tightening around the cup. Anna's lips trembled, her eyes darting toward him, searching for a shield that wasn't there. Tell me the truth, I said, softer this time. How long have you been lying to me? Anna's tears came first. It wasn't supposed to happen, she whispered. We didn't mean to. Brooke, stop. My voice cut through the air like glass. You meant every word, every touch. Don't insult me with excuses. Daniel tried to speak, but I raised a hand. No, I want to hear it from her. Broke then, completely. Her face crumbled, her sobs raw and unrestrained. Since the night you fought with him, she confessed. He came to me. He said he was lonely, and I was stupid enough to believe him. The words hit harder than I imagined. My vision blurred, my hands shook, but my heart, strangely, felt calm. The truth didn't destroy me. It simply set fire to the ashes that were already there. I looked at both of them, the two people who had defined my world, and realized they no longer had that power. I forgive you, I said finally. But not for you, for me, because I'm done carrying your sin. Anna's sobs turned into silence. Daniel couldn't even look up. For the first time in months, I felt something close to freedom. I woke up the next morning to an unfamiliar peace, the kind that comes when the storm has finally emptied itself. The house was still, the silence no longer sharp, just tired. Anna's room was empty. On the bed lay a note, written in her small, uneven handwriting. "Oh, Brophy, I'm leaving. I don't expect forgiveness, but I'll carry your pain with me. You loved me more than I ever deserved." I held the paper for a long time before folding it, as if by doing so I could close a chapter that had already ended. Daniel tried to talk that night. His words were soft, rehearsed, something between apology and fear, but I didn't need to hear him anymore. The truth had already spoken louder than any excuse ever could. "I think you should go," I told him quietly. "Whatever we were, it's gone." He looked at me, eyes full of guilt, perhaps regret, maybe even love twisted by shame. For a moment I remembered who he used to be, the man who made me laugh, who promised forever. But promises are fragile things. When the door closed behind him, I didn't cry. Not this time. I just stood there, watching the space he left behind, realizing it didn't feel empty. It felt mine. "Side," the rain began again, soft and steady. I stepped out onto the porch and let it wash over me. The cold bit into my skin, but it felt honest, cleansing. I thought betrayal would end me. Instead, it rebuilt me. I lost a sister, a husband, and a life I thought was real. But in that loss, I found something I had forgotten. Myself.